What's up YouTube? If you're new here, my name's Tadi and I recently passed the OSCP. It's been a long journey, but I finally got it done. That is what we are going to discuss in this video. My entire OSCP journey from start to finish, exam day, what I used to prepare, how to prepare for AD, enumeration, foothold, privilege escalation, the good stuff. And then at the end, I'm going to jump into some of the questions that were specifically asked by some of my subscribers in the community tab. So stick around for all of that if you think it might be helpful for you. So if you see me looking down, I'm just looking at my notes. I don't really have time to write a script. The first thing I want to talk about is exam day. I was scheduled to start my exam at 1 p.m. on the 12th of August, which was roughly 10 days ago, 9. You're supposed to log into the proctoring software 15 minutes before your exam. Yada yada. I did that. It took a while though. I was just being slow and I didn't think it was supposed to take that long, but it took me like 30 minutes. So I started my exam around 20 past 1:25, somewhere there. And I was panicking. I was scared. I did not know what to expect. But within 30 minutes, I had gotten a shell on one of the AD machines, which was pretty exciting. It took me about 10 or 15 minutes to escalate my privileges, and I was a system level user. And I was mainly targeting AD because I really needed the 40 points to pass the exam because I had not done the lab report, which I advise you do if you have the time, but we'll get into that later. So here I am, 40 minutes in, I have system level access on one of the AD machines, and now I want to move on to the next one, right? We need to pivot somehow. It did not work. For the next couple of hours, I tried looking for something, a way to pivot, etc., all that good stuff that you have to do when you're in an Active Directory environment. I tried that and it did not work. Why did it not work? I was panicking. I was sweating so much, and yet the AC was as low as it can go before I start freezing in my room. I was just panicking and scared about the outcome, what people think if I fail, etc., right? So at like around 4 p.m., I decide to put AD to the side for a bit and maybe at least scan and enumerate the other 3 standalone machines which I had. And that is what I did. Put an hour to each one. Did I find anything? Not at all. What I did was just scan the machines, look through the ports, etc., look through in-map scans, AutoRecon. That didn't help much, to be honest. And it took me 3 hours from 4 to 7 to look at the other machines, and I could not find anything that I could use to either get a shell, some sort of RCE, or whatever it is I needed to do. I couldn't find any of that. And at 7, which was 6 hours into my exam, I finally decided to take a long break. I had been taking a couple like 5, 2, 3 minute breaks, just going to the bathroom. I was drinking a lot of water because I was nervous. So I took about 10 5-minute breaks between that, just going to the bathroom and back. And then at 7, I decided to finally take a long break. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I just sat around for about 5 minutes until I decided to go for a drive, go to Kroger, get some snacks. I love M&Ms, so that's what I got. When I got back home, I was about to park my car, which I didn't do. I went back for another drive, hit a few laps around my neighborhood, came back about an hour later, sat down, calmed down. I took a step back and I thought to myself, my boy, you have done a lot of Active Directory up until this day. What have you done in the past that would work for you, right? That question changed the entire trajectory of my exam. What have you done in the past that worked? Up until that point, I'd looked at my notes 2 or 3 times. I hadn't been looking at my notes, which is something you should do, which is why you have notes in the first place. So what did I do? I go back to my Active Directory notes. This was around 8:15 or so. Go back to my Active Directory notes, start looking through them, and something clicked. I'm like, this should work. And it did work. Moved on to the next machine. It's around 10 now. Looked through a couple of things. That's when I started to calm down. After getting the second AD machine, things started to seem a bit less gloomy. And around 10 is when I got the second AD machine. Around midnight, I escalated on the third one, got the flag, and that was coupled with a lot of excitement and joy because I had 40 points for Active Directory. This is at midnight. I'm tired. I'm about to take a break, and then I decide to at least just go through the enumeration for one other standalone machine. And then if I nap, I can wake up and know that I'm just starting from trying to Privesk maybe or get a shell if I hadn't gotten a shell yet. So it's midnight. I look at my nmap scans and decide which machine looks the easiest. I choose that one. I'm looking at it, trying things out. And as I'm about to sleep, I was about to get up to go brush my teeth. I hit enter on something I was trying, and something came back. I was so relieved. I have no idea why I hadn't tried that in the first place, because it's something so silly. I hadn't thought about it. I thought to myself, this is so silly, this could not be in the exam. This is why people say keep it simple. Simple always wins. Keep it simple. So keep it simple. And once you've gone through the checks for the simple stuff, then maybe you can move on to the more difficult checks on your checklist. Don't forget the simple stuff. Anyways, this works. I abandon the idea of sleep. I go get a Monster in the fridge. It's like 1 a.m. now. And I was able to escalate that to get a shell. I was like, nope, I am not going to Privesk. I'm going to sleep, which I did. I went to sleep sitting at 50 points. And I was planning on waking up around 9 because my exam was going to end at like 1. And waking up around 9, I knew that I could get my screenshots in and hopefully Privesk and get another shell. And that would be 70 points. So that's what I did. Went to sleep around 3, 4-ish. So I went to bed around 7 a.m. There was some loud noise somewhere in the house that woke me up and I couldn't go to sleep after that. So I woke up 2 hours early, sat around for a bit, gathered myself, and then went back to my workstation. At this workstation, here I am sitting at 50 points thinking about what I need to do next. I decided to continue with the machine I had left off to do Privesk and hopefully get another 10 points, which I did successfully in about 30-45 minutes. It was kind of difficult, but I was able to figure it out, which is weird because whenever I was doing practice, I could never figure out some things, but I figured that out. So I'm sitting at 60 points at this point, and I need 10 more points. I need 10 more points to pass the exam because I'd skipped the lab report. If I had gotten the lab report, I would be happy and satisfied that I have 70 points and I can calm down a bit and do things slower. But at this point, it's around 8 and I need 10 points and I need to take all my screenshots, which I hadn't done. I decided to go back to my nmap scans, look through the outputs just to see which one I would think would be an easier machine. I tackled one. Wasn't really working at first until something stuck. I got a shell. I'm at 70 points. I'm like, okay, cool. This was around 11 a.m. I had enough flags for 70 points. So I decided to take all my screenshots. Take all of the screenshots, which took a long time. My exam was going to end at 1:45. 1:45? 1:45. Was it 12:45? I don't remember. Something 45, right? And I know I finished 30 minutes before that. I finished 30 minutes before my exam was about to end. Taking the screenshots actually took a while because I was trying to take screenshots of everything so that at least I know my lab report is satisfying. And if I fail, that's not going to be the excuse, right? So I finished 30 minutes before and I decided maybe let me try Privesk, that other machine that I have a shell on. I try that as I'm going through the checks, Privesk, etc. I asked my proctor what time my exam is ending because they gave me time in a different time zone. So when I checked, I'm in CT. When I checked, I then realized I was looking at CST, which I don't know if there's a difference, but it always confuses me. So in my head, I was 1 hour ahead. Does that make sense? My exam was supposed to end an hour before the hour I was thinking it's supposed to end. I think that makes more sense. So my proctor tells me I have a few minutes left. I'm like, oh my goodness, I was looking at the wrong thing. Oh well, at least I have 70 points. And then I tried one last thing, hit enter, boom, I had a root shell. I have 3 minutes left. Took a bunch of screenshots and then he texts me, he says, your exam's over, etc. I tell him thank you. I asked him to thank the other proctors because they were so nice. And my exam ended. It took me a long time to write the report because I had a massive headache. I didn't sleep properly. Probably wasn't as hydrated as I should have been, but I took a nap, chilled for a bit, and then started working on my lab report. Submitted it at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. at night, and yeah, that was the exam. The email that I passed came about a day and a half later on the 14th of August. So it wasn't that long while I waited anxiously to know if I passed. All right, so that was the exam. Enough of that. Let's get into some of the things you guys actually want to know. How I prepared, my background, Active Directory, etc. Let's get into that. I'm gonna start with my background. I've been in this cybersecurity space for about a year and a half, almost close to 2, maybe. I've been doing TryHackMe and HackTheBox passively for a while just to learn and get my feet wet into the topics and subjects I am curious and interested in when it comes to cybersecurity. As of the time of recording, I had done about 53 machines on HackTheBox. I had 53 user flags and about 48 root flags on HackTheBox. In my preparation, I probably did about 10 more, so the number shot up. This is just an estimate. There's no way I can go back and actually check how many I'd done. I had done a bunch of rooms on TryHackMe. I was in the top 1% of TryHackMe, which means nothing to some people, but I'm just trying to help you quantify how much experience I had at this point. So I'd done a bunch of rooms in TryHackMe, HackTheBox for a while, and then I finally purchased the PEN-200 course in March, which was a few months ago. And I did the 90 days of lab time. Just before I had purchased the PEN-200, I was doing OSCP Like machines. These are VMs that Howard from IT Security Labs makes just to help people prep for the OSCP. These are very useful if you can get them to work. I couldn't get most of them to work. I would download the machine, the OVA, import it to VirtualBox, boot it up, I'm doing the machine, maybe get stuck in some point in enumeration because I can't get a shell, and then watch his video, and then I see that there's a port that's open on his video, but it's not open for me. And I couldn't find a way to fix that at all. So I just dropped those VMs. But if you can find ones that work for you from his list of machines that is made, then great. You should actually take a look at that and then watch his walkthroughs. So once I bought the PEN-200 course, I went through some of the PDF, some of the videos. I didn't do a lot of it because it seemed like some of it was repetition from the stuff I learned already from the EJPT and PNPT, which are certifications I had before the OSCP. I went through the PDF, some of it at least, and I did a lot of the machines. I did 64 out of 70 machines. Did that really help? Yes, it did, to some extent. I think that everything I did helped. Bruh, air conditioning, you're making noise. Anyways, I did 64 out of the 70 machines. I did some of the PDF. You can go look at this video, or this video, I don't know where it's gonna be. You can check that video out for the specifics regarding the OSCP or the PEN-200 labs. After my 90 days of lab time expired, I was thinking of what I should do. I wanted to focus on Active Directory, so that is what I decided to start with first. So I took to HackTheBox, purchased the VIP subscription, and then I looked at TJ Null's list, and then I opened a tab with TJ Null's list. I opened a tab where I Googled HackTheBox Active Directory machines, and then I opened IPsec's playlist on the TJ Null list, and then I compared which machines I might want to do with regards to Windows and Active Directory. I found a bunch of them. I'll put them on screen. Some of these machines are not in TJ Null's list, but I think they were really helpful in helping me prepare for Active Directory in general, especially when it comes to a HackTheBox specific type of Active Directory. While I was doing these machines, I made an AD specific cheat sheet. I'll put that in my GitHub. That will be posted soon enough after this video or before this video even drops. And once I finish these Windows machines that I did some Linux machines on HackTheBox. And one thing I noticed from all the machines I then did from HackTheBox after I did the PEN-200 labs is that the HackTheBox machines are a lot harder than the labs. A lot. Not even just a fraction. A lot. I couldn't solve half these machines. So HackTheBox might be enough by itself, but it's not like you can just purchase the exam without the course. So at some point you might need to do the labs, but don't kick yourself in the butt if you think that you're not making progress using HackTheBox. Those machines are hard. So after HackTheBox, I moved on to Proving Grounds. I had about 10 days left when I started doing Proving Grounds machines, and I have one of my friends who was already doing Proving Grounds. I'll put a link in the description to his blog, which I think you should check out if you want to do machines on proving grounds. So I asked them to send me a link of the Windows machines he had done and the Linux machines he had done. I went through the list. I did most of the Windows machines, which were very fun and I think are more realistic and inclined to being exam-like. Out of all the platforms I used, the PG machines are what seem to be more exam-like. But those machines are hard as well, especially the machines that he has on his blog. They are very useful things to learn, but the machines are hard. I couldn't solve most of them without having to look at hints or the walkthroughs. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, I'll put a link in the description to his blog. And after I did most of the Windows machines in his list, I did some of the Linux machines in his list, which were really hard as well. So at this point, I'm kind of discouraged because I'm trying to look at walkthroughs each and every time I do a box. And for some reason, you can only look at a walkthrough once with proving grounds. And on his blog, he tries his best to not hold your hand, but to leave you with a bit of research to do. And so for me, at this point, I'm just like, I want to see how it goes. I don't want to start doing more research when I have a few days left to the exam. So that was a bit frustrating, having to do PG machines, which were hard. So like I said, I only completed about 4 or 5 machines out of all the PG machines I did without a walkthrough, which was very discouraging, like I said. But in the end, I found it more beneficial to have done PG at the end when I'm closer to the exam. Those machines are what seem to be most likely exam-like, etc. Now I'm just repeating myself. Let's move on. So those are the 3 main platforms I used to prepare for the exam from the time I bought the PEN-200 to the time I actually took the exam. Of course, there was some TryHackMe in between just to look at some fundamentals. Let's get into Active Directory specific preparation. So once you purchase the labs, do all the AD sets, as you should. Don't skip those for whatever reason you might have. Make sure you do those either first, maybe in the middle, or last. Just make sure you get those done. There's things you can learn from those and you will benefit from that. Secondly, when you're doing a HackTheBox, go through the list of machines I have made. I think these will be very beneficial. Watch Offsec's videos on all of these machines. Make your own cheat sheet. Use my cheat sheet if you want. But make sure you watch Offsec's videos, take notes, learn. After you've done HackTheBox Active Directory, go on TryHackMe, click on the Learn tab, go to the bottom, scroll to the bottom. Do all those sets or Active Directory rooms, read hollow, breaching AD, enumerating AD, all of that stuff. Do it. I don't want to hear people asking me specific rooms they should do. Do all of them. It will help. I always have people that come to me and ask me after I've made a video about something, which machines should I do to help me with Active Directory, maybe on TryHackMe. I'm telling you now, do all of them. All the machines at the bottom there, all of them. Don't skip any of them. Take notes, learn as much as you can. All of that will help you breach AD when you actually then take the exam. Another thing you can try out is Brandon's entry-level penetration testing Active Directory set, which you can host in your own AWS account. It was about $3 when I did it in my AWS account, so it's really cheap. Cheaper than TryHackMe, cheaper than HackTheBox, and then you can watch his walkthrough on how to actually think about going through the labs. That really helped me when I was doing the PNPT, and a lot of the things I learned from the PNPT, the lessons in general with regards to Active Directory and how to move around, persistence, actually getting a foothold, and then attacking the domain controller, it really did transfer. So if you have the money and the time to try and take the PNPT, I advise you do that. After you've done Brandon's lab, you could try HackTheBox Dante. After you've done Conda's Active Directory lab, you could try Dante on HackTheBox. Now, this is one thing I did not do myself. I did not have the time or the money to actually look through the 27 flags required for Dante. It's 27 flags, I think. But when people say it's overkill, I don't like that word. Everything you do in your preparation takes you one step closer to passing or to reaching your goal. And you can never really point at one thing unless you meet one specific thing that you did in your preparation that you see then in the exam. You can't really point to one thing that you did. So maybe if you have the time and the money, do Dante. You could learn a couple of things. So don't believe people that say overkill. Do as much as you can, and that's it. After you've done Dante, you could take a look at some paid courses to help you with Active Directory. One thing I did way before I even purchased the PEN-200 course was doing the movement, pivoting, and persistence course by TCM Security. I did this in preparation for the PNPT, but I did find out that some of the things I actually learned from the course did help. So if you want to spend more money, I advise you take that, but I don't really think that is actually necessary. Unless you can justify the purchase, by all means do it. Link will be in the description below. But apart from that, that is all I can say about Active Directory for now. Know as much about Active Directory as possible. Set up your own home lab, configure things, SMB, FTP servers, all of that nice stuff. Do it by yourself and you learn a lot. Just know as much of Active Directory as possible and you should be fine. You should be able to get the 40 points. Apart from Active Directory, another thing I wanted to talk about was how I would go about getting a foothold, right? One thing I did was manually do things. I poked around manually all the time in my preparation, before my preparation, during my preparation, after my preparation, in the exam. I mostly did things manually. Of course, I would use things like Nmap and then run AutoRecon in the background, which I started using based on someone's recommendation from my last video. He told me how to use it and I was like, cool, I tried it out myself. And I found that it helps sometimes it doesn't. And that's how it is with most things. It's hit or miss, but once it hits, it's always a good thing. So at least have that. Google everything you don't know. Google it, whatever phrase you see, whatever thing might be spat out on Nmap. If you don't know what that is, put it in Google, copy and paste, hit enter, read about it, read the docs of something, a version maybe. Just make sure you Google everything and understand how it works, why it works like that, where sensitive files may be stored, how it's configured, etc. People usually say enumeration is key. I agree to some extent, but I would like to add on to say that what you do with what you find in your enumeration is key. You might find something, and people call these rabbit holes. Some of them, yes, might be rabbit holes, but there's one thing you will find which you might not know what to do with. And that was the case with me for a lot of the times I was preparing for the exam, especially in the OSCP labs, like the PEN-200 course. You'd find something and then you have no clue what to do with it. So learn what to do with what you can find in your enumeration. This then comes down to chaining your exploits. It's not always going to be a point and shoot Python script. You might have to find something in FTP, maybe do some directory traversal of some sort, read sensitive logs, poison some maybe. I've done a video about log poisoning. I'll link it in the description if I remember what it is. Stuff like that. Don't always think it's going to be some Python script on ExploitDB. It's probably not. Sometimes, who knows? But know what to do with everything you find.
Am I interrupting?
Kinda.
Huh?
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah? Sorry, man.
No, it's all good. All right. The next thing I want to touch on is privilege escalation. Like I said with my foothold, I usually do most of my things manually before I start to try automate anything. So with privilege escalation, there's a bunch of scripts you can run. linps, winps, linenum, winenum, Windows privesc, etc. There's a bunch of stuff you can automate, but I suggest to leave that to the end because I think it could be much simpler to find the privilege escalation vector if you have a very good checklist. For both Windows and Linux, I got my checklist mostly from experience and some of the courses I've taken over the few months or a year and a half that I've been trying to get into hacking. I will put some of my manual privilege escalation checks in the GitHub repo, like I said before, but one course I do suggest for both Windows and Linux, would be the Windows privilege escalation and Linux privilege escalation courses from TCM Security. I always talk about TCM Security because they have helped me so much in trying to break into the industry, just learning, and the courses are not expensive. There's a bunch of promotions running right now. I don't know if they're still running by the time I publish this, but they're selling courses for $1. You can literally get a course for $1 for lifetime access. I don't know why you wouldn't appreciate that. And the courses aren't any sort of low quality. That's where most of my checks came in. Always install elevated, DLL hijacking, file permissions, looking for WSL on a Windows machine, etc. That's where I've learned most of that, and that's where most of my checks come in manually, and I've added to that list from the courses just based on experience from the lab machines I've done, HackTheBox, TryHackMe, other CTFs, etc. So I'll put some of my checks in the GitHub, but if you really want to go deeper in whatever it is you're looking for, I really suggest you check out the courses. The links will be in the description. But apart from manually poking around, you could run automated scripts. Now, this is the exam, and depending on what sort of machine you get, who knows if your automated scripts will actually help you find anything. That's why you need to do your manual enumeration. Another course people recommend for privilege escalation will be the courses by Tiberius. I personally haven't done these, but people have a lot to say about these, good things at least, and so I'll link them in the description below as well. You can check them off if you want. I haven't personally done those. I personally think at some point, if you've done some things, other things would be repetition. Like I said, I did the courses by TCM Security, and I do not think that there would be much of a difference in doing both the courses. I'm just trying to save money. I'm a student. I'm broke. So just spend your money wisely. Or there is also a great free resource, which I've used as well. It's on TryHackMe. It's a rune for privilege escalation. Privilege escalation. I'll link it in the description below. It's a very good resource. Check it out. It's free, I think. Or maybe it's for subscribers. I don't know. You can always check it out and see for yourself. But with regards to privilege escalation and getting the foothold, do your manual checks. Automate some stuff if you can, just in case you miss something. Google everything. There's things you might not know what they are. Google them. Services, installed programs, hard disks that may be mounted. Google everything. There might be some sort of privilege escalation or exploit vector that you do not know about. And that is always going to be a thing. There's going to be something you do not know about. So Google, learn how to Google and do research. Don't always go through one page of Google and think that's it. Go to page 2, page 3, page 4, maybe page 5, page 6 if you're feeling like that's what you want to do, but at least get up to page 5 before you put something aside. And then just to repeat some things, take breaks. I took a break after 6 hours, and after that long break, things started to click. Don't just take 5-minute, 10-minute breaks. When people tell you to take long breaks, they mean it. There's enough time to take long breaks. I took about 2 3-hour breaks. No, that is a lie. I took about 2 1-hour breaks. I napped. I did some other things. I actually watched a rugby game, a whole rugby game, 80 minutes. The Springboks versus the All Blacks. And unfortunately, the All Blacks did end up winning against the Springboks, which is kind of disappointing. But I was having fun during my exam, taking my screenshots, watching the game. There's time to do everything. Another thing I'd like to say is that you're probably going to run out of ideas before you run out of time. It's 23 hours, 45 minutes. That's a lot of time to do whatever you need. And you might just feel like you don't know what you're doing if you run out of ideas. So that then goes back to how many boxes you've done, how many things you've seen, how many things you can try. If you don't have that many things you can try, bruh, I'm sorry, but you'll run out of ideas before your 23 hours and 45 minutes are up. Another thing is refer to your notes. Take very good notes. Whatever note-taking platform you use, make sure you can search. I found myself searching for commands consistently after I started looking at my notes because I needed them. And so make sure you have the commands you ran so that you can just copy and paste. Maybe change an IP address or a username if you have to. But have that on hand so that you don't have to start struggling and Googling something you've seen before in case you might not find it. So take good notes, have a searching system, have your commands ready, have everything ready. I have talked about most of what I want to talk about. Now I just want to answer some of the questions on my community tab. I should have posted on LinkedIn as well, but it is what it is. Okay, Ben says he's still confused when it comes to what's allowed and what's not allowed. I wasn't really sure what's not specifically allowed. I wanted to use PwnCat, the pen testing framework by Caleb Stewart and John Hammond, but I ended up not using it because it has some elements of auto pwn or auto exploitation. So I didn't want to toe the line and maybe get myself disqualified. Just go through the exam guide. I'm sure it does give details. And just if something toes the line, probably don't use it. Find an alternative that might work. I know Metasploit is allowed for one target. That's one thing I really did read specifically. Metasploit is allowed for one target. Once you use it for one target, you can't use it for anything else. Even if it's just the auxiliary modules to check logins and whatnot. Once you've used it for one thing, even if it doesn't work, you can't use it for anything else. And once you use it for one thing, if it does work, you can keep using it until maybe you pwn the box for like a Meterpreter session, etc. So you can use it on one target until you're done and not again. And that's one thing I'd like to say. This is the exam. There's no need to feel fancy or bougie or holier than thou. If you need to use Metasploit, go ahead, by all means, do it. And then he also finished off by saying he hates buffer overflows. And do I think I could skip it all together and invest my time into practicing other stuff? I put a lot of time into my buffer overflows way before I purchased the course. And then as soon as the course ended, just before my exam, that's one of the things I practiced last, just so I have it fresh in my mind and I don't have to keep going back to notes and making mistakes, because it could take a while if you do get a buffer overflow. But if you do get a buffer overflow and you invested your time in other things, let's say you didn't do the lab report, you conquer your AD, you have 3 standalone machines, one is a buffer overflow, one is too hard to enumerate or to get a shell on, so we can leave those 2 out, and you have one other box that you pwn, the third one, you're sitting at 60 points. And if you hadn't done the lab report, you're probably going to fail. So I do suggest that even though you hate it, go for it, learn it. It's something you might need in the future anyway. And for me personally, I used to hate things I did not know much about. For example, I hated Active Directory before in the beginning, and then I took the PEH course by TCM Security when I was preparing for the PNPT. And now I love Active Directory because I know quite a bit about it. I used to hate buffer overflows as well until I learned how they actually work. I went deeper into the inner workings. I did a bunch of other buffer overflows, not just the OSCP specific type of buffer overflows, but a bunch of other things. And now I actually like buffer overflows. So maybe if you took your time to get into the weeds and get into the roots, dig deeper into buffer overflows, maybe you might just start liking them. I don't know, but I don't think it's a good idea to just skip it all together because you might get a buffer overflow. You never know. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind, my guy. Learn buffer overflows. Go to CryptoCat's channel. I'll link it in the description below. He has a lot of good resources when it comes to that. Autismo Squad says, if you have created any type of documentation on your pen testing methodology, I will post that on my GitHub repo soon enough. I am currently trying to get settled. I just moved back to college, so soon enough it'll be there. I'll put it in the description. And then Chatu, I don't know if Chatu, I'm sorry if I'm butchering people's names, but he says how long it took from Cyber Noob to crack OSCP. Like I said in the beginning, I've been doing passive stuff, HackTheBox, TryHackMe, for about a year and a half until I then purchased the PEN-200 course in March. What areas should we master? Active Directory, Windows, Active Directory goes hand in hand with Windows. So just do a lot of Windows boxes, just read up Windows documentation for things you might not understand. Master Linux, the file system. For both Windows and Linux, the file system is important. Buffer overflows. Know your buffer overflows. And then just have a good privilege escalation checklist, right? That way you can find the path you need to take pretty quickly. Another thing I would say you should master is knowing what to do with what you have, right? If you find something, what can you do with it? If you find a password, spray it on every word that needs credentials. If you find a hash, maybe pass it, crack it maybe if you can. Recommended resources, free and paid. HackTheBox, there's a free tier which has active machines. Those machines might be hard. They might not be as helpful as they should be when it comes to the OSCP, but that could do if you want it free. But you can also get the VIP. I think it's like $14 a month. You'll have access to retired machines, walkthroughs. You can then combine that with IPsec videos just to get everything you need from that. TryHackMe, the sub is like $10, I recommend you go through everything Active Directory on TryHackMe. Port Swinger, if you want to learn web stuff. I know for a fact I use Port Swinger stuff a lot when I was trying to learn SQL injections. But one thing I really did learn from the labs was SQL injection. I just really grinded it out, and I learned how to do research and look at things from a certain perspective. So maybe that's not free, but if you look at Port Swinger, is it Port Swinger or Port Swinger? Port Swinger. If you look at them, the academy is free. They have a lot of SQL injection stuff and web stuff. You can go through that. That is free, and then paid stuff. TCM Securities, Linux, and Windows Privilege Escalation courses, the PEH course for Active Directory and general pen testing, maybe the movement, pivoting, and persistence course for Active Directory reasons, maybe the web app course if you want to do that. I personally haven't done the web app course. I'm going to be working on that soon enough. What are the resources? I'll mention them as I go through. TryHackMe versus HackTheBox, use both. But depending on where you are, you're going to need TryHackMe and HackTheBox for different reasons. If you're still just a noob, TryHackMe first and then HackTheBox. If you're past that general noob stage, use HackTheBox. TryHackMe still has those fundamental and other advanced topics, but I think HackTheBox would be a lot more beneficial once you pass that initial stage. Programming level we should know. That's a good one. I think you have to have some sort of experience and knowledge about programming. You need to know how to read code. If you look at a script, you need to know what it's doing so that you can tinker with it and make it work for you, right? Because it might not always work the first time. You might have to change a few things. Some of the things I've seen from all my prep up until I took the exam, you need to know how to tinker with Python scripts. You need to know how to compile and make your own C and C# scripts. And yeah, that is basically how much you need to know. Compiling C# and C with Visual Studio, making Python scripts, automating some stuff with Python, etc. Just at least have some knowledge of maybe Python, C, and C# when it comes to exploits. My journey is all over my YouTube, bro. I have a whole playlist full of OSCP stuff and other general stuff I post. But thank you for saying congratulations. Trap Gamer, what cert should I get before OSCP? I'm a beginner. I would say the EJPT version 2. I haven't looked at the course. I was denied access because I'm not a beginner. If you have the money, and the PNPT. The PNPT really helped me with Active Directory. If I hadn't done the PNPT, I don't think I would have been able to tackle the Active Directory and the OSCP. So do those certs. Maybe Network Plus, Pentest Plus. I haven't done any of those, so I really don't have much to say about them. But EJPT, PNPT, highly recommend those. How to prepare for 40 points AD. I think I've already touched on Active Directory. Just know as much as you can about it. Go on TryHackMe, go on the Learn tab, scroll to the bottom, do everything Active Directory related. Wreath, Hollow, breaching AD, enumerating AD, exploiting AD. Oops, my bad. Yo. etc. Once you do that, then do my list of boxes I've compiled from HackTheBox. Do Windows Machine on my boy's blog. He has a bunch of Windows machines for PG. Do those. And I think you should be ready for AD at that point. I think that is everything for now. To close, I would like to just say, take your time with it. Depending on whether you're on a time crunch or not. I was on a time crunch, kinda. I needed to complete this certification before my fall semester started, and I was able to do that, thank God. But take your time with it. I know people have been working on it for a while. Some people just started. Take your time. Do all the prep you can. Nothing is overkill. Everything you learn and do will go into you passing your exam. Don't ever think to yourself you're doing too much. Don't think that. Just don't. Do as much as you can. Get help. Make friends. Have fun in your journey. And you should be good. If there's anything I left out, I'll make other videos specifically for that after this one. But for now, thank you for all the congratulations. Thank you for the people that were with me on my journey. I am no longer a noob, per se. That's what some people say. I still think I don't know enough to do anything, but it's been fun. I will make a couple more videos, OSCP related. But until then, thank you. All the best in your journey. Peace out from me.